Okay, guys, I should be live. Hi, and welcome to the stream, first stream of the week, and to the topic that's going to be very, very, you know, very new again, like in, I think about a day, and that is, of course, the Snyder Cut, guys. And throughout this whole time, I almost didn't say anything about it. There were so many news coming out in such a brief period of time. There was going to be, I mean, it's gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. Jason Momoa said this. Jason Momoa said that. Henry Cavill said this, and Zack Snyder said something. But now on the 20th, which is the day after this stream, is streaming. There's going to be a Man of Steel, I think, watch party, and a lot of people are expecting Zack Snyder to announce the Snyder Cut at the end of that stream and watch party. So that's the topic, and because there are so many years have passed now, do you really want to see the Snyder Cut still? Now let's see who is in the chat, because this is a stream. So if you're watching this recorded, I hope that you have a browser that allows you to see, what's happening in the chat live. So hi to Milkshake, it's Helios. Hi Ivy, dear Clayton. Hi James. Hi to you guys. Wow, Chubby, Daddy Monster. Hi to you. Okay, that's great. Yeah, so that is it. That is really great that you're letting me know what do you think about this, because this is the topic. Oh, hi to you, Lauhauser. Hi, and welcome. Good evening. Before we continue, guys, although I really want for you to gather around, like always, I like to wait like 2 minutes at least. But I have a lot to say, so it's also pretty late, But first, I want to announce real quick something that you're probably going to see a post of me on my social wall here on YouTube. I am going to post regular physique updates on my OnlyFans, which are going to be a bit sexier, just because in order to see any physical changes, I do have to show something. Of course, nothing that extreme, but it is a bit sexy, okay? That's a disclaimer. The point is that I'm giving very useful information about what I'm doing in my transformation, and from that picture that I posted, I'm going to post the next that is with visual results. So the idea is to get leaner in the way that I described there, so you can also, get an idea of what I'm doing and how these things are possible when you get to your body set point, and how to get below that. So that is on OnlyFans. I'm just saying that's what I'm going to do there. Okay, so muscles, where? Hi to Rafael, hi to you. Well, thank you very much, Chubby. James, thank you very much for the support. Thank you so much. Yes, and that chicken is really awesome with the, with the dumbbells. It's so cool what YouTube can do with those things. Yeah, absolutely, bless you. So yeah, I just wanted to let you know, because I am planning to use my OnlyFans for good, although once again it is made to, show such things. So yeah, a bit sexy, but for a good purpose, like literally. Anyway, now continue with the Snyder Cut, guys. So we do know what happened with the Zack Snyder. I'm just thinking about a lot of stuff at the moment, about so many information. I mean, it's such a huge amount of information that came out about the movie, that I'm just like trying to sort it all right now at the moment. But let's start from the beginning. From the beginning, we know what happened to Zack Snyder. That was extremely unfortunate. That's why we got Joss Whedon to finish the movie. And you know what happened then. I mean, the movie wasn't as cohesive as you would have want, or at least, I mean, I personally really enjoyed it the first time when I saw it, but I did see, of course, there's so many things that were probably, yeah, I mean, one of the most ridiculous things in movies that ever happened was that mustache removal, and so many controversies, and how the movie's tone kind of changed at the end. The Superman were made to be such a cheerful guy all of a sudden after he came back from the dead. So it was a bit like fast. Um, there's a word for that, but I can only think about it in Bulgarian right now. But basically, when you do something too fast and go through it without really, creating everything perfectly into detail, but you just like this, you just want to finish it. So they're not doing such a good job. So basically, something like that happened. Still, there are a lot of things about the movie that I do like, but we all, after that, found out about what could have been, or at least a hint of that, because Zack Snyder had a totally different vision. And when Justice League Dark came out, Apocalypse War, and I did a review of it, by the way. So when that came out, we kind of got this information that what we saw in that universe and how things went there in terms of what happens with, Darkseid. That was kind of the plan. I mean, the movie universe was also going into similar direction and into that storyline with the Flash, with Flashpoint, and the inevitable appearance of Darkseid eventually. And that would have been very, very interesting, personally for me. I would love to see it what Zack Snyder would have done with all the characters and with the story. So, with that out of the way, like I did some kind of a prologue here, once again, I'm going to check your comments, guys, of course, because I would love to see what you think. And welcome to Jenny Jones. You are new here, I think. I never seen you before. Rio Couture, hi to you. Yeah, I know, Rio Couture, hi to you. Yeah. Oh, well, thank you very much, Jenny, then. I'm glad that you joined in the comments. I always reply to everybody that I can see, so I would love to have this conversation with you guys, and you can let me know what you think. Yeah, Darkseid is one of the best villains ever, and Thanos is actually based on Darkseid. If you ever wonder who came the first, the chicken or the egg, in this case, Thanos or Darkseid, it was Darkseid. Well, if Darkseid had appeared in Superman, and you mean in Man of Steel, that would have been too early because we just had Superman starting to be Superman for him to be established. He wasn't even established as Superman. He himself had to learn to grow into the role of well, basically himself. So that was crucial for him to develop as a character, and it would have been too soon for that to happen. Yeah, I know that a lot of people are gonna say, well, we got the Justice League that fast, but the movie was supposed to be very long as far as I know as well. And I'm sure that Zack Snyder will somehow do Justice League in its own way, but in the way it also will be comprehensible for us to understand everything that's gonna happen. It's not gonna be, yeah, it's not gonna feel rushed. Yeah, that's the word that I'm looking for. Well, we understand that he did film a lot of scenes with our Justice League here. And of course with Aquaman, let's not forget about him. But all of those scenes were not finished in terms of special effects, which will take, of course, another like 30 million or who knows how much money to finish. For a while there were so many rumors, especially the last thing that I mostly remember was how Jason Momoa was just casually like, yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, it's good. It's good. Or something like this. I'm just paraphrasing here, but he basically tried to assure us that there is this version of the movie that is just out there, but it's not finished in any kind of a way. Then, as I understood from the last watch party that Zack Snyder hosted, so to speak, he hinted that something is coming. And then, basically, the Corona thing happened, which just changed the movie world altogether because movie theaters are closed still. They're just started to reopen, as I understand, in America, but in general they are still closed. And some movies that were supposed to come out um, in theaters just made compromised and pivoted, so to speak, and they just came out on digital. So the point is that people were really, and there still are for the most part, in this situation where content is consumed more oftenly, and this movie it's a lot more desired in a way because if we have the chance to see it, this will not change the current continuity of the DC universe, but we're still gonna have this special cut of the movie just for, well, for us basically. And who knows if they release this cut and people like it a lot more than what we got originally, maybe that's going to compel Warner Brothers to see things differently and to maybe build upon, once again, Zack Snyder's vision. His vision instead of what they want to do, which, whatever that is, whatever that is, God. They are not very cohesive with their ideas, so to speak. Okay, let's see once again what I missed from the comments and we can continue. But basically, that is it, what happened till now. But after Jason Momoa said everything that he said, there are so many rumors that this is never going to come out. Then, oh no, there is a chance, but no, there is not. And now, actually, tomorrow, well, it's going to be tomorrow, probably American time tomorrow. I mean, one of those time zones. For me, maybe it's going to be the next day, which is the 21st. But in a few hours, still, it's like a few hours. Maybe if there's an announcement coming, it is around the corner. So that's so interesting, and I just can't wait to see what happens. Okay, checking your comments real quick, guys. Oh, you're watching season 5 of Vikings. That's great. I hope that you're having a great time. Yeah, there are some moments that you might not like though, but that's a matter of, opinion. So I'm not gonna say anything. I'm just saying a lot of things are coming. Uh, yeah, it's up to them, but they don't seem to have like a concrete plan what to do. Batman movie, the Batman movie with Robert Pattinson is over there somewhere, and one day we hear that he's a part of the DCEU, and one day no, it's not, and then but this is in modern time, but then we hear no, it's not in modern time, so it is confusing. Yeah, and Clayton also started watching it. Season 4 already. Bravo! Well, for me, Superman, I mean, Man of Steel, BVS, and Justice League, it is all connected, but just of course it is. But the point is, what happened with Justice League because Zack Snyder was removed from the movie, just went into another direction like this. So that's the problem. Oh, you have a birthday. Well, then, Milkshake, just keep your fingers crossed that we're going to hear something very special on that day. It's gonna be awesome. Uh, well, Ivor. Okay, I'm not gonna say anything about Ivor, but Ivor is something. You can say he is something. Okay, so guys, continuing here. So what do we think? I mean, do you want to see the Snyder Cut? Now, a few years have passed, which I can't believe it, but yeah, a few years have passed since, Justice League. I think 2, if I'm not mistaken. Gosh, time really flies very fast. But anyway, so I personally really want to see it. I mean, I never had any problems with Man of Steel. This is actually one of my most favorite movies ever. Literally in my top three. I love it so much. I resonated with everything in the movie and how Superman was brought up, and what he went through. It was so down to earth in terms of, yeah, if this is like realistic situation, if we really had this being on the planet and he was growing up and experiencing all of those special powers that all of a sudden are appearing, and he wouldn't know what to do with them because people are not like him. He's not like other people, and he has to deal with that all on his own. And whatever you do, you can't really. I mean, if you're a human, if you're his mother or his father, you feel compassion, but you can't really help him, unless you try to just calm him down. But you can't really do much. That's the point, and he has to go through that alone and find his own strength to be the only person on earth that has this power. So for me, that's really compelling. Now, a lot of people say that you can relate to Superman, but I can relate to Superman in a lot of ways. Um, the fact that he has all of those powers doesn't mean that you can't relate to him, because just think about it. What he is experiencing and what he became as a person is just basically like a metaphor for what anyone could become if, let's say, you have inner potential or inner struggles and you're able to overcome all of them, and at the end of the day you are able to use everything that you have, and to grow out of your weaknesses or to turn your weaknesses into strengths, just to become a lot better version of yourself, but to overcome so many difficulties because you're faced with such a scrutiny, so to speak. But this is the exact thing actually that made you stronger. So from that point of view, how Zack Snyder built up Superman as a character, and you can see how he tries to hold back to not hurt anyone. He just made Superman more relatable than ever, in my opinion. That's why when the movie started, I was like, well, this is exactly what Superman is supposed to be if you really think about it. This is exactly how I would have imagined Superman being if he was a real person. He would have had such a difficult childhood when he's a teenager, when he's a grown up. If he can find some kind of a way to live among people and to be comfortable with his surroundings and still hide who he is all of the time, that's so hard to imagine, even let alone live like this. And then to find within yourself the strength to go and save people because you realize that, wow, I have this powers, and with those powers do come a lot of responsibilities, because I'm the one that can save so many people from tragedies that if it wasn't for me, they would not be able to be averted. But because I exist, I can actually do something. Like, imagine how that is sounding in his head. Like, I can go and pick up that rocket that falls, falls down to Earth, or a meteorite, or whatever it is. He can do so many things, to bring down safely airplane from the sky and all of that. And in that moment, he realizes that he can be fully himself and to express that power through helping people. So to me, that's super interesting, super compelling, and it had even more potential to be explored in the other movies. Then, of course, we saw through the eyes of Batman how he saw him, because he was just outside, basically observer of all the things that were happening around him because of Superman. I mean, not because directly because of Superman, because of the circumstances of the fact that he arrived on Earth, and then Zod, of course, came, and all of those things happened because Zod has his own agenda that Poor Superman had no idea, that such evil things even existed, but he had to deal with that all on his own. And Batman, from his perspective, everything looks so bad, and it looked like Superman didn't care, and he was just causing all of this destruction, which it just wasn't the case. He can't grasp even the magnitude of the strength that Superman has and Zod, and when they fight, that such a huge, on that scale, destruction is going to ensue, of course, because those are extremely powerful beings. But from the perspective of this human that is very, very intelligent, even though he's very, very intelligent, everything that he went through in his own life made him who he is, and basically that is a very bitter person that went through so much bad stuff that is just ridiculous for one man to handle throughout his life. And he still has to be strong, and he still has to be the scary guy in the shadows, and kick people kick people in the teeth or whatever. I mean, he had to do so many things, and be effective, because if he just takes a feather and do this on their faces, nothing's gonna happen. I mean, a lot of people complain that he kills people. Yeah, it's like never, Batman never killed people before. Yeah, but he did. Anyway, that's another topic. The point is that Zack Snyder made all of those things with great layers upon layers upon layers. How Bruce Wayne, I mean Batman, was searching about the other heroes. He was already doing his work, his research to see who are these beings. Are they a threat like Kal-El is a threat? Let's say. I mean, it's so interesting. So with a few scenes and just how he positions the characters and how he presents the story, you get the perfect idea of who is Batman in this part of his life, which is, the later stage of his Batman career and all of that. What he went through, you get the idea, how Robin died, was killed, all of that. You see the sign, what Joker wrote on the costume. You just, with such a, like, scenes and just shots, you get so much character development, because those images speak a lot about who he is and what he went through. Then, of course, you see a bit of Wonder Woman. Now, for her, it wasn't enough time, but you know who Wonder Woman is. So, how things were done there, for me it was okay, but of course could be done better. But then we get her solo movie, so I'm perfectly fine with that. The point is that this is unique style that no one else did before in a superhero movie. Zack Snyder had really his unique vision, so unique, and I personally appreciated that a lot, because this to me was so different from all the things that Marvel were doing and that they are doing. They just have such a different style that I also enjoy. But to me, what Zack Snyder did with the DCU, and he basically gave birth to it, I just think that it's much more like sophisticated, and it's a bit more mature. It's definitely very with a lot of substance to it. You can just pick everything apart and think on it, and you know come up with a lot of other things that you can just take away from the movie, from the characters, because there are just so many layers to all of them. You just have to know how to spot the layers, basically. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say about that. So, seeing a Snyder cut to me is going to be mind blowing and amazing, just like a Christmas gift that I always wanted to get, but I just didn't get it for a lot of time. But now it's time for me to finally enjoy it. Yeah, so, okay, let's see what your guys are saying, because you wrote a lot of stuff. While I was talking, I'm going to take this chance to drink a bit of water, because it's not easy to talk for that long. Yeah. Mm, well, Okay, let me pause for a second. Well, I don't think that we can say for sure what happened there after his daughter died, but it wasn't pretty, that's for sure. Yeah, Clyton. Exactly. I mean, a lot of people see Superman as unrelatable just because he has powers, but his powers were never the thing that you're supposed to relate with, but what they represent and how he handles them. A regular person with no qualities, no values, no moral code, no principles. He will not use those good, okay? At all. But he is just amazingly good person inside that is able to center himself so he can do all of the things that he can do. So it's totally not to be underestimated what he's capable of. Ah, Wonder Woman is me. That's a compliment, but yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, when you watch the animations, I'm talking about Metallo. When you watch the animations, or when you read the comic books, you have so many issues and episodes. I mean, comic books issues and episodes, obviously the animations, that you can bring all of those iconic villains to Superman. But when you have the movie universe, it's just not the same. You just have to see what you have to work with as material and be like, well, who do I want to bring? Because I don't know if I'm gonna make a second movie. I don't know if I'm gonna have a green light for a second one. Like, nobody knows. There's so many failures, so to speak. Just take Green Lantern, for instance. There was never a sequel of that Ryan Reynolds movie because everybody, including me, thought that the movie sucked. And I just actually can't remember how I went to the theater. I sat down, I watched the movie, and maybe like towards the middle of it till the end, I was like, how is that word? Repelled or not like disgusted. I mean, I couldn't believe because most of the movies that I've ever seen about superheroes, which was always my favorite thing when growing up. Just imagine me as a kid, like, oh my gosh, superheroes. Well, not exactly. I was more like superheroes. Mom, I'm gonna make a cape out of the drapes. My mom, not again, Gary. Can't you just play with something girly? No, Mom, I'm gonna be a superhero. That's me. So, yeah. So, yeah, that was the first movie that I felt it was atrocious. Just terrible. So, anyway, the point is, guys, that the movie universe, Hollywood in general, they don't work like we think that they should work because they don't greenlit movies if there's like a huge reason for that, if there's no success for it. And it's exactly the same with Zack Snyder universe. He tried to start something the right way, but then the studio was like, oh, just do more things. We got to get more money out of these movies. There's not enough money from these movies. You gotta do something big. Just bring Wonder Woman. Just let's start putting in characters, without any plan, so to speak. And Zack Snyder just took that and did whatever he could with, whatever they told him that he must do. So you can't just put Metallo there or whatever villain that you like because you just have to make a list of everything that's like a priority. And Metallo definitely will not bring a lot of movies because he's like a B villain. He's not like the huge villain type that is Darkseid. Darkseid is A level villain where Metallo is iconic, but he's like the B level villain. Exactly the villain that comes and goes in the animations. He's just like, "Hey, Superman, just feel the kryptonite," and Superman's like, oh no, I can't. Oh my gosh, you know, and then just finds a way and poof, that's with Metal. So he's not exactly movie type materials. Like there are a lot of superheroes that are A level, like these three. There's a lot of villains that are A and B level. So uh, it just doesn't work like we wanted to look like. Or if this was a TV show, which we're gonna get a TV show if the CW prepares to release Lois and I mean not Lois and Clark, that was the 90s show, but Superman and Lois or something. Uh, so in that kind of a format, live action format, you can do Metallo, you can do everybody that you like. Every week is a new villain. Who cares? The way that Supergirl does it and steals half of Superman's villains, but that's another topic. Yeah. So that is on that comment. Now let's see what you guys are saying. The rest. Build it with a decade of film in mind, so younger Batman and all of that. Yeah, well, like I've said, if they don't start with that plan, if they don't believe that they're going to continue, they're just coming up with something else that they think that it could be successful faster. At least that's what they think. What to tell you? When you look at how Marvel did things, they started basically with Iron Man 1. The previous movies, the whole that doesn't count. I mean, real Marvel movies started with Iron Man 1. They took a big character, a big hero character, and made a movie out of that. Now, for me, Iron Man was never B character, B superhero. He was, always A, just because I grew up with a lot of Iron Man. Here in Bulgaria, they were screening that, airing that all the time, for years. So at least three, well, not three, okay, maybe two generations grew up with that. And there were some comic books, super awesome comic books that were translated in Bulgarian, so I read all of those. Bought them. I drew, Iron Man a lot of times and Spider Man. So to me, Iron Man was always present as a superhero in my life, almost as much as Superman. Yeah, I can say that. So, but anyway, but Superman, not Superman. Iron Man was relatively, I mean, not unknown, but it was not like, wow, Spider-Man, it was not that level. But they did a very good movie. They came out with that, and it was, wow, success. Then from this, they started to grow, the universe with adding solo movies with the other heroes, because the first piece of the puzzle, which was Iron Man, the solo movie of a particular superhero, was successful, so they decided to do the same for the other movies. I mean, to do the same formula, which is solo movie of the next hero, solo movie of the next hero, and so on, and then combine them. So it was basically like a matter of circumstance, in the way that they hit the jackpot with the first movie, and then they decided to continue that pattern with the rest of the movies. And of course, that was super successful, especially in the way that they did those first movies. I mean, Thor, um, Captain America. Goodness sakes, wow, that was a long time ago. Yeah, I mean, it was a great plan from the beginning. But DC were like, wow, we're so late to the party. We gotta catch up. So, Zach, just, take it up a notch. Do something. And he was like, what? Wait, but I just had my movie, Man of Steel. You want me to bring the Justice League out? Oh, no, no, we have to do BVS first, at least, because, yeah, otherwise, how we are going to introduce Wonder Woman? So, the thing was, bad decisions. Well, for me, it was okay, like I've said, just because I'm so familiar with the character, so whatever they create with them, I'm going to understand it, especially if it's very well made and elaborate about all of the different, sorry, all the different aspects, of the characters and everything else, which Zack did. He did the best job in that situation. But of course, it was not the best formula in the world because it was just not. And people are so used to watching the Marvel formula with the humor, easygoing, but sometimes it's serious, then it's easygoing again, that it was very hard for them to put their mind into what Zach was trying to do, which was so different. But that is exactly, the qualities that attracted me to that, because it did, uh, align with my personal, view of how things should be anyway in terms of realism. So for me, the difference between Zack Snyder's DCU and what Marvel were doing and are doing, when I saw, Man of Steel, this was just like a breath of fresh air to me, because it was not as generic as Marvel movies were becoming eventually, because one after the other, there was a particular generic aspect of them at one point. And for me, at least for me, I'm just saying how I felt. When I watched them, I always enjoyed them. But there was this feeling of fast food, fast food, like you you consume something, and then, you get this instant gratification, but then it does not have like a lasting fulfillment effect that much. Not all of the movies, but basically after Captain America, or I think, yeah, after Iron Man 3, that is where for me things went very fast foodie and kind of downhill in terms of how the movies were made, to be consumed, but there were no real substance to them, but they were just like, oh, we want to do this now and this now. It was more like, well, we have to make the money, we have to make the money, so let's do this. And it just lacked more substance to me. Then later on, Doctor Strange came out, and I really, really, really enjoyed that. And there are so many interesting topics, because it's more of the spiritual aspect that was newer in terms of what we already had, and it was presented in a different way, because this is magic from a different view, not Thor's magic, but from even bigger, broader aspect, more in the detail, so to speak. And it did had some actually very awesome things in terms of the wisdom of the movie, what the Ancient One was trying to teach the Doctor. So I was very pleased with that movie, you can say. But all of those, all of the movies that the DCU brought up, and Wonder Woman, um, of course, that's Patty Jenkins' movie, but Zack Snyder did had a finger there, so to speak. For me, they just could be rewatched a lot of times, and I could enjoy them and still find the substance of them. Still, they just resonate with me more, and I don't get tired of watching them. Unlike with Marvel, when I, not all movies, but I can watch Iron Man and Thor, the first movies, and Captain America a lot of times, and Doctor Strange, but in Avengers, the first Avengers, and the last Avengers. I really love the last Avengers. Just love it, love it, love it. But let's say, okay, some of the movies after Iron Man 3, I just can't rewatch them. I don't have interest in rewatching them. First time that I watched them in the movies, I'm pleased with that, except Iron Man 3, which I wasn't. From the get go, I just wasn't. When I saw all of those political things and what they did to the Mandarin, that for me was just a travesty, and just missed opportunity. And I didn't find it clever or amusing in any kind of a way what they did there. Just having this great villain and just, oh, you don't need that. Here's this guy that's corporate prick. Just take that guy. And I'm like, what? Literally. So, yeah, there was a lot to say. Okay, let's tune into your lovely comments once again. Okay, let me catch up, guys. Michael is here. Oh, hey, Michael. I just saw you. Hmm. Well, that thing with kryptonite is always kind of annoying. Cacao, hi to you. Hi to Evos. Well, as far as I heard, about Henry Cavill being Superman, The Rock actually came out and said, well, if I'm going to be Black Adam, I want to have Superman. I want to have Henry Cavill as Superman. And that was kind of like an ultimatum that The Rock was not going to do some of the scenes of the movie that he is contractually obligated to do if Henry Cavill is not Superman. So if that is true, which it came out like news, I think 2 weeks ago, then it's pretty, you know. They basically said yes, he's back on, but until we hear something super substantial that now we do have this possibility tomorrow or the day after, once again, compared to what time zone you live in, we will find out, guys, very soon. But for now, at least from this news, we kind of have to be like, okay, Henry Cavill returning as Superman does look very good. So some sites, let's say, reported this as a fact that The Rock said this. Andy Garcia, who is Henry Cavill's agent, I think, she was The Rock's ex-wife, so there's that. They're basically friends. I don't know, but yeah, he said if Henry is not Superman, I'm not gonna play some of the scenes that you want me to play. I really hope that's true because if The Rock said anything like it, definitely Warner Brothers would not want any issues with that. They would want to use him in his full capacity because how many years now since we do know that The Rock is supposed to be playing Black Adam? I think at least 6 now, which is crazy. He is signed up to play this role for so many years. If they don't, you know, go through with it anytime soon, he's going to get old. He's looking pretty awesome. Best that he ever looked like. Yeah, basically best as he ever looked throughout his whole life, even when he was younger. He looks the most badass, and he's so big, so muscular now. So, and he is the best that he ever was in terms of acting. He can still play the heck out of this role. But they just have to make some kind of a cohesive decisions here. What are we going to have? Shazam, when? Black Adam, when? What? All of those things. Kratos, Nikki. Hi to you. A pen just fell. If you heard that. Yeah, so guys, basically, if you really, really want this, like really badly, the Snyder Cut, we do have to be kind of vocal about it, and a lot of people are vocal about it. And Zack Snyder is a very interactive person on Twitter, and he does post some interesting stuff from time to time. He tries to tease us, so he does know something that we don't know. But once again, if you're going to join that watch party, I'm not sure if it's for free or not for free. Something like news definitely should come out of that. I just can't imagine, just watching the whole thing, which is great. I love to watch the movie again anyway. Although I have it on Blu-ray. But like watching the whole thing and all of a sudden there's nothing at the end and you're like, what about the Snyder Cut, Zach? But I'm pretty sure that's not gonna happen. Something has to come out of this. So I'm just so excited and I want to see this, no matter if it's 3 hours or 2.5 hours. I just don't care. I just want to see a full movie realized. Because, especially about the runtime, how so many times movie theaters because they have particular, of course, space between which they are placing movies. They're making their programming, and that's why movie studios have to cut their movies. Sometimes that makes for a lot more, just for worse movies. And if you've seen the cut of BVS, you'll know how many things were left out, which actually when you see them it makes more sense. All of the things in between, how Quark was researching what's happening into the desert. Or I haven't seen that cut for like at least 2 years now, but there were a lot of details there. That would make the movie a lot, longer, but the quality of the film in terms of the information and the pacing, that's still, sometimes kind of, maybe it's gonna hurt the movie, but most of the times I think that it's just better to make a whole cohesive film rather than just cut out here and there some stuff. But some compromises must be made, so that's also understandable. The point is that, it's not easy to make a movie at all. There's so many people involved. Then the studio has their own idea, but most of the times, if they're separated from the process itself and they're just like guys in chairs in some kind of a office building meeting room, and they're like, you're gonna do this and that, when it's not realistic, is not doing justice to the characters, is not doing justice to anything. You try to rush something out like a product, but you're not caring for, the whole process and the quality of it because you're not caring for the process, and then everything goes to shit. Yeah, I don't want to say it. So yeah, unfortunately, that's how things work. And sometimes directors have more to say, depending on what they have. Depending on what is their contract and how much influence they're allowed to have on their own movie. And it's just such a mess. And that is because, that is because Kevin Feige is the head of Marvel. They have one person that it's in charge of this whole cohesiveness of all of this, because if there's no one person that has the overview, they can all make such a different movies at the end that you're gonna be feeling like you're watching totally different company doing all of those movies and heroes, and they're supposed to be living in the same universe. So something has to be done in terms of how to bring everything together, but to make all of the movies quality enough when they're, solo movies, and then bring them together or something like that. No matter that at this moment, the point is that it's not going to hurt the DC universe as it is right now if you just get Snyder cut. For me, it's just going to be better. And if I was the studio or the studio heads, I would be like, okay, this really cannot hurt us. It can only help us. Because if people like it, we are going to get direct feedback and we are going to know what people want. We're going to know what we have to do, the direction that we have to go. Because everybody is going to be on the movie. Everybody are going to do a review of it. And there's going to be, talking and talking and talking about it. That is totally, going to reach the studio. So it's no brainer for me to release it, especially in the corona time that we are now. It's just the perfect moment for this, and they can always spare 30 million and release it on rent or buy for the same price that is going to be, or if it's going to be released at the movies. I think that's 20 something dollars. I'm not sure how prices are in America, but as I see other movies like Scooby-Doo came out the other day, and as I see some reviews of Scooby-Doo, Grace Randolph review, for instance, she showed the price for rental and for you to buy it. Yeah, that they can always actually make money on it, because who is not wanting to see this? even people that don't like the universe are still going to see it because they want to see what it could have been, you know, from curiosity. And a lot of people that, let's say, didn't like that much what Zack Snyder was doing in the first place, but then they saw Justice League and they were like, oh my gosh, I just want Zack Snyder back. So there are so many reasons for this to exist and for us to see it. But if something happens, guys, on the 20th, which is tomorrow, but once again, maybe it's going to happen on the 21st for me, I'm gonna cover it for sure and I'm going to do my best. So stay tuned for that if that happens, but let's pray that it does. Now, once again, I'm gonna check your comments real quick and what did I miss? Yeah, yeah, I both. Well, Patty Jenkins, yeah, she did. Yeah, she's great. I really like her. I really like her work. Yeah, Joss Whedon, he has just, Joss Whedon just has a very different style that I don't necessarily enjoy. When he was doing Buffy, for instance, he did so many things that I was like, what are you doing? And yeah, I mean, he's kind of he's influenced by other creators as well, which of course a lot of directors or any kind of a artist could be, and take inspiration of that. But sometimes when he tries to do the same thing, like managing different characters in one movie, sometimes he does things a bit cheesier than he must. Sometimes he just doesn't know how to handle some characters, and he applies like a more easygoing formula on all of them, but that lacks the emotional substance and impact that those characters were supposed to bring in the first place. So I just don't like his style that much, you know. But that's just me. I'm just saying. He's not my type of director. He is doing so many things right, and then when he brings that aspect, it just makes everything too light, let's say, to be substantial. Nikki, there's a lot more to that than you realize, actually. I mean, you came late, but I've talked about a lot of things. Well, if we ever see the Snyder Cut, it's going to be actually complete because they're not going to release something that's not finished. They're just not gonna show it at all. It's just going to be left on the cutting floor, like they say. Literally. Um, those screenings that they have of unfinished movies are just possible for the actors and their closest people, but definitely not for us. So that's the point. They're only going to release it if they are willing to put the money on it and all of that process. But we are going to see that anyway in a few a day and something. Yeah, Nikki, well, you can always watch those, so yeah. The Gary cut. Yeah, oh, I can edit the movie, but I cannot add the special effects, at least some, but they're not gonna be very good with what I have to work with this software. But I can edit. Okay, guys, so that's going to be for tonight. I really have to head to bed in the superhero matter, of course. And I also prepare another video which I'm going to edit and hopefully release tomorrow. And of course, get on that Snyder Cut. If any news, please God, I hope that there's news that we're gonna see this thing come out. So yeah, that is it. Sleep well, dear guys, and yeah, have wonderful dreams, of course. And well, that's it. Thank you very much for the support. Once again, links to my Patreon and OnlyFans and all the content that's supposed to, God damn it, I'm tired. All the content that I'm going to do there it's totally happening. So yeah, that's it. Kisses and hugs, guys. Bye bye.